Today's story, my friends, is a Moishe Maisa. The theme again is Avos Yisrael. So this story was told by the Chassid, Rabbi Melech Lebenhardt. He passed away I looked him up, passed away a few years ago, lived in Kfar Chabad. He was a businessman in Kfar Chabad and a very open home and Chassidic Yid, and so was his brother, and his father was a Baal Mesiras Nefesh, as he was too, as a child in Russia. Famous Lebenhardt Chabad family. So this, you can look him up, see a picture of him. I can show you. Really, the story's not about him. The story's about Mordechai Dubin. So here's the story. He says that a my bar mitzvah, which was in a place called Malchovka, which was an area in Moscow, a suburb of Moscow. And his bar mitzvah, he says it was sakonis tefoshes to attend. Nonetheless, Mordechai Dubin, the famous chassid, the Chassidic Rebbe, instrumental in getting him out of Russia. He was, as you'll see in the story, what kind of chassid he was. So he came. It was a risk for him to even show. He was being watched. And he came to the Simcha. In the course of the Simcha, the Fabrengen, this Mordechai Dubin tells the following story. It's about himself. He had been arrested by the communists. So at the end of my arrest period, I was located in a prison near the city, I think you pronounced this right, Kovishov. So after my sentence was up, I'm released. He said the release process was very brief and impoverished. It's the word he used here. I was called into the office and said, leave. Goodbye, Charlie. I wasn't given any provisions. Everything was taken from me. Food or clothing. They didn't tell me where I should be, where I should go, where I could go. I left without anything, just the prison clothing. Dismissed. And I started walking to the nearest Jewish town, which was, I just mentioned, this place called Kivishev, to try and find Jews that would help me, on me. So I'm walking for a long time, and I was tired and famished. And in addition, it was a terrible cold, and I didn't have winter clothing. I was dressed just in the thin prison issue. And I suffered greatly from the cold. And so it was late at night, and I finally arrived at the city. I'm walking in the towns, and I'm trying to find a house with a Jewish sign, a mezuzah. I see such a house. I knock on the door, and I'm knocking and knocking and knocking. It's late at night, it's cold, the winter. The door opens a crack, and the owner looks through, a Jewish fellow, a Jewish person. He sees someone wearing prison, what's the word? Prison garb. There's a word for it. He slammed the door. I'm scared. I said to myself, since the Mordechai Dubin, I judged him favorably. He sees someone who was a prisoner, and who knows what I've done. Did I escape? And what, he could be putting himself in great danger. No clue. So he just shut the door on me. And I wasn't upset with him. I understood why I did that. At this point, I was exhausted, starving, and exhausted. And I couldn't even explain to him. No strength to explain. I'm a Yid, and I was arrested for spreading Yiddish. I had no strength. And then I decided, I'm already in a state of, I've just given up. It says, Chatzi years, almost given up. So I said to myself, I can't walk anymore. So I'm just going to lie here. I'm going to lie here on the ground. And what's going to be is going to be. And so I did. You see, lay down on the ground. When I started to feel that my life was ebbing away, I started to say vidui, that this is confession. This is the end of my life. Listen to the story, friends. All of a sudden, I get this thought in my head. The thought said, I said to myself, you, Mela, you can do as you understand. I've given up and I'm lying here, going to freeze to death. Then I thought to myself, what about this Jew? Tomorrow morning he's going to wake up. When he goes outside, he's going to see a Yid that is frozen to death on his doorstep. Could you imagine how he's going to feel? How much is Akmas Nefesh I'm going to cause him? So this thought pushed me. And I just, with all my koiches, I got up and banged on the door and banged and banged and banged again. Finally opened it, and I just, the strength, I started to speak in Yiddish and tell him I'm a Yid and so on. And it wasn't immediate. And I'm pleading with him until the end. He agreed to take me to the house. And so my life was saved in the schus of Avos Yisrael. You hear the story? The schus of Mordechai's Dubin made it to Avos Yisrael. They didn't want this poor Jew to live with the guilt that a Jew died at his doorstep. In that schus, he was saved. And he tells us with complete, no sense of being a hero, complete vittel and self-effacement. Gives you an inkling of Mordechai Dubin, what kind of Yid this was. He was in the Latvian parliament. He was one of the great figures of the previous generation. Again, very instrumental in defeating Rebbe getting out of Soviet Russia. And worked tirelessly on behalf of Yiddishkeit and Yidden throughout his entire life. There's pictures of him. Yidden have a wonderful day.
Big lesson in that for all of us. That was what amazing. Thank you.
Profound lesson. You think about the story. Yeah, absolutely.